In the first Unresolved Problem segment tonight, pot smokers in Washington state having one long party, now that it's perfectly legal to light up for fun.
3, 2, 1!
I've never seen so many happy people in such a wide vicinity in Seattle.
This is kind of like what happened when alcohol prohibition ended, that the people had a public display of their happiness of being free.
Under a new state law that went into effect this week, anyone can smoke pot in Washington as long as they're over the age of 21. But possessing marijuana is still a federal crime, and now the feds are scrambling to figure out what to do. Joining us now to analyze in New York is attorney Steve Greenberg, and from L.A., attorney Anahita Sedaghatfar. But first, the United States Supreme Court today announced it will take up 2 gay marriage cases, Prop 8 out of California and the Defense of Marriage Act case out of New York. The court could hear the cases as early as March. Okay, the 2 big issues here. Let's start first with, let's start with the gay marriage issue first, and we'll go to the pot question. Steve, how do you think it's going to play out? The DOMA case and the Prop 8 case, they're 2 different cases. How do you think this is going to go down? Explain first the DOMA case.
Well, the DOMA case involves whether someone who had lived with a domestic partner for 45 years should have to pay estate taxes, whereas had they been married as husband and wife, she would not have to pay estate taxes. And Prop 8 involves whether or not gay marriage is simply legal. I think that what we're seeing here is they only need 4 justices to decide whether to take the issue, and I think there's a little bit of politics there, because if Obama appoints more justices, they're not going to have 4 to even get the issue before the court. I expect that the court's going to say that gay marriage is legal, just as they said you couldn't ban racially mixed racial marriages and things of that sort. You know, husband and wife, man and woman, does not appear in the Constitution, and it's more a policy or religious decision than a legal decision. Legally, I don't think they can ban it.
Yeah, Anahita, I clerked at the court quite a few years ago now, back in 1993, but predicting what the court's going to do is always quite difficult. Everyone was shocked at John Roberts' holding in the health care case. But this obviously remains a hot-button issue. You know, now we have a number of states that have made gay marriage legal. A lot of other states now is not for us, and maybe it'll change. We don't know. We don't know how it's going to develop. But nevertheless, the court steps into an issue like this and resolves it before the people of the states resolve it. How do you think this will ultimately play out?
Laura, I mean, I think this is huge. First, we have the Supreme Court deciding on Obamacare, immigration, and now they have decided to make a ruling on one of the most controversial and divisive issues in our country. You know, I agree with your other guest. I think that it's going to be, you know, we only need 5 votes. I think we have the 4, and with Kennedy, who's been generally sympathetic on the issue of gay marriage, that we are going to have 5. I think the public sentiment is leaning towards allowing gay marriage. We have increasing states passing laws allowing gay marriage. So I think it's going to be very difficult for the Supreme Court not to uphold gay marriage under equal protection. But I've been wrong before, so I mean, I can't predict for sure, but these are my thoughts right now.
Let's talk about this other hot button issue of marijuana. So we got all these people, they're really happy out there in Washington state. So they're is it available in the coffee shops, or you still can't sell it, right? It's a very odd thing in Washington state. You can't sell pot yet because they haven't figured out the rules for doing so, but you can smoke pot. And now the problem, Steve, is that, of course, we still have the Federal Controlled Substances Act on the books, and the federal government, the Justice Department, said in a statement by U.S. Attorney Jenny Durkin that selling or possessing any amount of marijuana remains illegal and under federal law, and we have an obligation to enforce that law. So they're still kind of looking at it, but the law is the law, is it not, Steve?
Well, it is. The reason you can't sell it yet under the Washington law is they haven't figured out how to tax it yet, which is really what's behind this, is making money. But the feds are going to, I expect the feds are going to come in and start prosecuting low level here. You can't have, on an issue like this, states individually legislating, forgetting on this one the policy behind it or whether marijuana smoking should be legal and decriminalized. You can't have them doing this. What are they going to do next? A state is going to pass a law saying, in our state it's okay to burn the flag, in our state it's okay to do this or that, and we're not going to have a federal system
now, I see
anymore.
what you're saying. So it's a conflict, state, federal law.
It's a
so you have a conflict between the laws. But the problem, Steve, is that happened on DOMA, right? it happened on the DOMA issue, because DOMA does address the general issue of man-woman marriage, but then you had California, you know, Prop 8, and then Prop 8 struck down, and there's a movement in California, other states, to have legalized gay marriage, Maryland, for instance. So it's not like the feds are going to try to enforce DOMA, right, in Maryland.
But it's two different issues. One's criminal, and one's something totally different.
Right, but it's still selective. It's still selective. I'm not making a judgment. I'm just saying it's interesting that there are these conflicts, and this happens on a lot of issues. What's the latest with you on Miss? Your name is so difficult to say, but Anahita. I don't know why that's hard for me, but Anahita, what's your take on the pot issue?
My take is that I would urge Washington pot smokers not to rush out and pull out the Cheetos quite yet, because under federal law, it is illegal to possess, to sell, to smoke pot. And we know that federal law trumps state law. So I think not only will the federal the feds have an obligation to get in there and ensure that their laws are upheld.
Yeah, their laws are on the books, whether immigration, they're on the books, and they should be enforced. We appreciate it, counselors. And when we come right back, Bill's shootout.